Well, we are building up to the 2023 elections and election, what do we call it now? Electoral education. The more of that we have, voter education, the more of that we have, hopefully, the more we'll be able to improve the numbers when it comes to voter participation. Of course, as you have seen there, Mike Igini joins us this morning. He is a former resident electoral commissioner for INEC in Akwa Ibom. Thank you again for joining us this morning. So let's begin with, from Akwa Ibom. Just I think 2 days ago, we hosted the chairman of the APC governorship primaries, Tunde Ajibulu, who I'm pretty sure that you followed the news, saying that, you know, the role he played and the conversations you had about the primaries, and that he's very shocked that the court made that pronouncement concerning it, where he said categorically he conducted the primaries. So he's very, you know, shocked that, you know, that the court had made that kind of pronouncement. How do you respond?
Well, thank you very much. Of course, you know, I'm already out of the commission. But issues, matters that I was part of, there will be reference to that. Otherwise, I will not be inclined to that, because I've said that now that I'm out of the commission, I want to see that Nigerians get the information they need to get, because democracy gets better when people get the right information. That's the reason why I said I want to be neutral. But however, on this issue about Ajibulu, I think I was part of that engagement you had with him. You could see that he said he was shocked at the role I play. He was also shocked at the decision of the court. So all the way, they will already be shocked. Because when a process is not understood, abuse becomes inevitable. Since on the 26th of February, I've warned that people should go and study the 2022 Electoral Act, but they have not done so. It is not correct that he conducted primaries, as also affirmed by the court, our reports, that he didn't conduct any primary. On the 26th of May, that was the day for the APC primary. I was still in office. I was only the one to lead the team, both from Abuja and the state, to the venue, which is the Share Grace Arena, accompanied by the security personnel.
Who selected that venue? Because that was one of the
first and foremost, yeah. Now, on the 16th of October last year, they conducted a congress, state congress. Everybody, all the party people, they were there. I was not even there because it was sent by their party. But INEC team was there. But Igini as a person, as a rec, was not even there. They did a sort of, including the former minister, all of them were there. The video clips, everything was there. Somebody won. One Augustine Ekanem won. It's got 1,278 votes. The Tuekpo, who is the last person on the list, got just 6 votes, 006. That was the vote he scored. Shortly after that, obviously, Tuekpo belongs to or sponsored by the former minister. All right? Around December, we just heard that they are in court. And Akwa Ibom happened to be one of the only states that they had a successful congress under the governor of Yobe leadership as a caretaker committee, and the former secretary, who is also from Akwa Ibom. All right? That was the only state. And we heard that they had a matter in court. What matter again? Crisis again? Because the caretaker committee that was in charge before the primary provided the venue, and that was the Share Grace Arena. So up to the time of the Congress, there was no crisis, no division. But people were interested in having division ab initio, so that when they have their own ESCO, they can do their own primary. And I was very clear to everybody that insofar there was no problem with your caretaker committee, of course, you are to provide venue. Take note, INEC don't conduct congresses or party primary. It is done by the political party. But it is not the state chapter of the party that conduct. It is the national that will send the body down. And they sent one sheriff or one guy who came and conducted very well.
You mean the APC?
Yeah, the APC, all right?
Sent one sheriff.
The committee, you know, the committee that we're talking about Congress, so that he has a question about who chose that venue, which is what Ajibulu. I'm trying to give you that background, all right? I would have wished that I didn't even get myself into this again, but for the public interest, all right? So, they now went and to court. What did they do in court? The result, which we have copy, INEC has the report, the people sent from headquarters to the state, they wrote the report of the outcome. You know what they did? The man who scored 1,278, the last guy scored 006. What they did, TPS it, brought down 1 behind 006 to make it 1,006. In the new document, the man who scored the highest was now having 278. You know what they did? They went to INEC office, deceptively submitted it to INEC. That is their own forged document. 2 days later, they sent a lawyer to collect a CTC of their own document. Regrettably, as I tell the city was issued, the headquarters had the original copy with them. The staff who did it should be sacked from INEC, because the genesis of this came from a staff of INEC in the headquarters signing, issuing, certifying a document where you have your original with you. When I got information, I called Abuja immediately. This is what is going on. Abuja wrote a letter quickly to those who did this fraud, particularly paragraph 4. It said certification of document received by INEC is one thing. Its content validity is a different thing. In order to validate and invalidated that action, at which time they have secured a judgment. So when they secured a judgment that Utuekpo is not the chairman, all right? With that judgment, he needed to be sworn in. The people who were supposed to swear him in, who were the current governor of Yobe State, asking the former senator, were the chairman and secretary respectively. They were to swear him in. They said, what? A Congress we conducted, Akwa Ibom sworn on the president who succeeded under our leadership. They got the judgment on the 17th of March. The second day, the current city governor of Yobe State, go and ask him, he's alive. They went to court. So, to the Court of Appeal, asked for order. Stay of execution. And on the 7th of April, the matter was adjourned at the Court of Appeal. On that day, the Court of Appeal, they now move a motion, all these motions, they move all of them. The Utuekpo and his sponsor now filed a motion that the Court of Appeal has no jurisdiction to hear the appeal. Really? The court said, okay, adjourned on the 19th of April. That all of that should go back. Meanwhile, the court has granted order, maintain status quo, pending the next date for the hearing. That status quo, we must ask, what was the status quo as at that day, which is on the 7th of April? The status quo that the court ordered to be maintained was the fact that here we had 2 people. One, Augustine Ekanem, who genuinely won, had been sworn in as the chairman of the APC in Akwa Ibom. Then you have Utuekpo, who had in his credit favor a judgment, but was never sworn in, had not been sworn in, because those who were swearing in were the ones who were upset with which is the current governor of Yobe State, and they went to the court.
We're going to who selected the venue.
Good. Now,
just go so that we can.
Absolutely. You see, you need to understand it to know who selected venue. But when the court said come up on the 19th, maintain status quo, do you know what they did? 4 days after that, they went to swear in the Utuekpo. Despite the Court of Appeal order that would come on the 19th, maintain status quo. And the status quo was the man who was in charge. It was not a case of 2 of them had been sworn in. It would have been a case of the last time in time out of the 2 claimants, chairman. No. They violated on the 11th of April. They went to swear that guy in. We are law-abiding. INEC is a creation of law.
But did they swear him in with the backing up of the APC National?
Yeah, they sworn in because at that time, the Yobe guy, the former governor, had left office. We now have the current chairman of the APC and secretary, respectively. They were the one who now swore this guy in violation, in total disregard. 4 days after the Court of Appeal said, maintain status quo. This is because the duty to answer that question, the duty of the state chapter is to provide venue. National of any political party don't provide venue. So that you can understand the genesis why the venue provided was the venue that the state office worked with. Because when it was a maintain status quo, we were on that status quo. But you know what happened? On the 17th, when they came back, when they knew that the other party was going to report what has happened, that despite your order, this guy had been sworn in, you know what happened? They filed in a withdrawal. That they were with the current leadership, now file a withdrawal so that the main matter will not be heard. That withdrawal process did not terminate until the 30th of May. So within the period...
You mean it was Equodom that filed the withdrawal, the Equodom faction?
No, it is the Ntuekpo faction, which is the Gov'hip's faction. Let's be very clear now. They were the one who are running this parallel stuff, all right? So the court said maintain status quo. So when they came back, in order to, because they have achieved what they wanted to achieve, have sworn the guy in illegally and all that, they said they are withdrawing, because they were the appellant. They were the one who went to court. That is the former governor was the one who went to court. Now succeeded by a new set of leadership, working together with this group, and they said they are withdrawing. If you say they are withdrawing, what is the business of INEC? INEC didn't go to court in the first instance and all that. But the question is, the period the court said maintain status quo, which was on the 27th and on the 26th for the governorship, 27th for the senatorial. This was the period that the primary took place. The process of what you call final withdrawal, which you call now dismiss, finally was on the 30th, at which time all the elections have been conducted under the period when the court said maintain status quo, in which case the Augustia Canem provided the venue, which is the Share Grace Arena, and where all the legitimate delegates from the world to local government were all gathered. So when Ajibulu came on that day, the 26th, I was in the office from 7 o'clock with the IG, with the CP, who is not an AIG, who were there waiting for them. They were fighting themselves. I don't want to conclude on that. They were fighting themselves, and eventually, by 6 o'clock, they were fighting at the airport on their way. They ended up, Ajibulu ended up in the DSS protective custody. Why he was there? That was why I said, look, what do you call it, Akwa there, who are now moved to NNPP now. They were saying, look, Commissioner, we have a delegate here. We have to do it. The other people don't have delegates.
Mr. Igini,
so
that's the genesis.
I don't know conclude on this thought, Bukola. I said, look, yes, it is true you have a delegate here, but it is not your place to conduct primary. It must be conducted by a national that must be sent. This national, they are somewhere, they are in the state. I now place a call. Everybody was there. I put on speaker. This was around midnight. I said, Ajibulu, won't you come and control this? He said he was traumatized that he will get back. Okay, you are going to get back. We waited and waited. I spoke with the DSS guy,
but Mr.
and
Igini,
we left. By second day,
it's that call that I want to address, because his account is to the extent that you were prevailing on him to come and conduct the primary at the Share Grace Arena, and he was wondering what the role of INEC was. Is the role of INEC partisan? Shouldn't you have been neutral rather than partisan in your, phone call in which you prevailed on him to come and conduct the primary?
Section 84
at the Share Grace Arena.
Section 84, subsection 1 of the 2022 Act imposes a duty on INEC to monitor all party primaries. So if I am the venue, and the body, if you are talking about even being biased, it should have been a case of against this man, Akwa, who had to move away to the other party. And I said, you can't do that. I had to call him. We are here. Why are you not here? He said he was traumatized that they were almost killed by their mob and so on and so forth.
Did he also tell you that they were holding the Congress at another venue altogether?
No. Yes, he was saying that he wants to go to a different venue. I said, which venue are you talking about? Don't forget, they call it maintain status quo. The status quo was that the Augustin Canem, under the law, we were obeying the law, was the status quo that to be maintained. They provided that Share Grace Arena. And I said, we are here. So he was not talking about
so there was no
secretariat. Listen, he was talking about secretariat. I said, which secretariat?
But Mr.
I said, this is where it should be taking place. He now said that he was going to revert back to his leadership in Abuja, and then will get back to me. Why did he get back to me? I called and I put it on speaker so that the whole world would hear it. And that was what happened. We left by 12 midnight. Then the second day, they said, breaking news. It has been conducted. I think Bukola,
Mr. Igini,
the court have decided. I think they can go to the court of appeal.
Statutorily, does the REC, is the REC the one who leads the team that monitors the election? And is it in your place to place phone calls to the chairman of the primary committee to come and conduct elections? Shouldn't you rather wait? And if they didn't come, whatever primary they conduct would not be certified by INEC in line with the law?
No, not at all. Because first and foremost, the list of even this delegate, when do they send it? This committee. I was the one calling Abuja. Today is the date fixed, just as like any other parties. Where are the list of the people? Eventually they send the list to me. This was around 1 o'clock. If they were in town, first, they were even the first to call me. One of them even called me. Dr. I remember his name. He's even one of the team member that called me. He was a member of the University of Benin, graduated from University of Benin. And he called me. I said, where are you people? I don't have Ajibulu's number. All right? Because when I spoke to them, when they said in the police protective custody, I spoke with the DSS. And I said, we have been here. I understand that the team led by one Ajibulu, they are in your protective custody. It was the DSS telephone that he gave to him that I spoke to. I did all and all that. So because I have a duty to say, look, we are here, come and conduct it. Because if you gave a notice and you fail to do so, it will require another notice, except we are saying we are postponing. If you say we are postponing, that notice will continue to subsist.
Okay. But
by the second day when they said they are concluded, we have to write a report.
Okay.
There was no primary conducted.
INEC has made a position, uploaded some names of delegates, beg your pardon, candidates and all of that for virtually all of the elections.
Yes.
Currently, the position of INEC is there is no governorship candidate for Akwa Ibom. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the position.
Okay. So what are the implications then of this order given by the court for fresh primaries to be conducted in 14 days?
But Ayo, very quickly, before I come to that implication, you will have heard about the fact that INEC headquarters wrote me a letter that I didn't obey. Let me clear to Nigerian people here. INEC, from on the 17th, when they got that judgment secure with forged document, already confirmed by Nigerian police, never wrote any letter to me. I could not have written any letter because the parties were in court. The only letter written to me was on the 21st of June. 21st of June. To me that having regard to what has happened now, that the applicants have withdrawn on the 30th, at which time the elections have gone by, that we have no choice than to go back to the Federal High Court judgment, which is correct. But when was that just sent to me? On the 21st of June, long after the whole event was over. So it is not correct that within that period, any letter was written from the 17th when they obtained that judgment. No letter, not one letter had been written to me and we called. So back to the issue of the court order. You see, I have been saying that people should read the Electoral Act. You could see the Nigerian police doing that. Under the Act, Ayo, it should be noted that there is a difference between common law rights and statutory rights. Our election is governed by statute. The order that the court could make must derive from that statute that you have interpreted to make a determination. But we know that for every legal injury, there should be legal remedy. Ubi jus, ubi remedium. But that is also provided here. Section 31, Nigerian can go and read it. Section 32 or 34 are the only provisions that allow for 14 days window to conduct fresh primaries. That is in the case of withdrawal. Now, INEC election is based on timelines, time frame. The period for withdrawal is long gone. July 15th and August 12th for withdrawal. Where we are now, 99 days to the election, there's no room for withdrawal again because the timetable was made clear 1 year before Nigeria. The only thing left, Ayo, so that we look at that, about whether this order is the proper order. If it's not, all right, is that in the case of deaths, if a candidate dies even few hours to the opening of the poll, the election shall be countermanded. That's the only window left. Now, where a party, two instances, where a party ab initio, latile,
from the onset,
fails to conduct its primaries, the remedy within the time frame, because Supreme Court has said the court of law cannot extend the period for primaries. No primary can be conducted. But where, for example, a wrong return was made when the primaries were conducted, A ought to have been returned, but B was returned. The court can say, like in the case of the senatorial now, that it ought to have been the retired DIG Ekwedo, right? You can make that order. This is because the timelines are so stringent, fixed and firm. Because if you now order that, as we have seen, not only in Akwa, but in several places right now, 14 days, check the Electoral Act. 14 days is in respect of voluntary withdrawal and the case of death. Now, Section 84, subsection 14, that asks for redress, that any candidate who feels that the process has been done in a way that was detrimental to him should seek redress, which is the last word, under subsection 14 of 84. The redress is contained in section 84, subsection 13. Because who sponsor candidate for election under our system? It is political parties. Society make progress on the basis of reward and sanction.
So what should
the consequence
yes,
is that where a party fails to violate the provision of the Electoral Act, his candidate and that party shall not be allowed to participate in the election. Nigerians can read it, section 84, subsection 13. Therefore, this order itself is a violation of the Electoral Act.
So there are over 600 cases in court right now, and INEC is complaining of, being overwhelmed. In fact, INEC says there are 70 court processes filed by political parties demanding that the court compels INEC to recognize its candidates. So what choice is open to the judiciary? What is the overriding need for the judiciary to do here now? To abide by precedent as demanded by INEC, or to defend the fundamental human rights of those seeking redress?
Yes, let me say this here. Many people, we have 99 days to the election. Candidates for legislative bodies, many of them will not be known. At least presidential is settled. Including governorship, we may not know the candidate. This is a regress in our democracy. 2023 election is going to be the 7th general election we are conducting in this country, showing that we have also cross some critical democratic thresholds. But at the same time, there is a regress because of the way parties have conducted themselves. What do you have today? Under the Act, police is now being involved, and Nigeria Security and Defense Institution to be helping to manage political party on the use of venue and time. This is where we are. It is, see that, Section 91. It is now police to help to do that. It shows to you that political management in Nigeria is an unmitigated disaster, that we are yet to do the right thing. And that goes to the classification of Malcolm Olson, who made the point that whenever in a society where we have a society where people want to do the right thing, that we only have two groups of people, political class. He called them political bandits. We have a stationary political bandit and a roving political bandit. In his own idea, talking about the theory of social, collective theory of action. What is going on? Roving political bandits are making things difficult for this country. We know that in every society, every society has its own enemies. And that's what Karl Popper, in his book, Open Society and Its Enemies, talks about. Many Nigerians are working so hard to get the right thing done. But the political class remains the greatest threat to our democracy. Otherwise, how can we say, as we have witnessed either in Bayelsa, in Imo State, in several places, in recent elections, where candidates for elections are not known? Various presidential candidates are making profound promises. Very interesting one indeed. And I'll be interested in some of those things and others. But as we speak, nobody in the House of Rep, in the Senate going for Central seat, or State House of Assembly, also campaigning, because some of the promises being made by the presidential candidate will require changes in the Constitution. Nothing says that when a presidential person wins an election, whatever he has campaigned with is binding on somebody who is in the National or State House of Assembly that have a role to play in unlocking or changing certain things in the Constitution to enable things to work in our country. That is why, from our own experience in this country, we have seen how the party having the majority in the National Assembly, they have never been able to
You
work
say many candidates will not be known. That has huge implications for the 2023 elections.
Absolutely.
Does it mean that, those candidates who are prepared and have presented themselves may be returned winner, No,
what will happen again is that INEC will fall back to the political parties. Okay. Because it's party that are sponsoring candidate. Now, the infighting between members of the political party, if not resolved, and on that day, because on the ballot, you don't find the name of candidate. What you find is the logo of political party. So the vote that will be given by the people, by the time the matters are resolved, candidates are known, then of course they'll become the beneficiary. Because right now, most of the matters you talked about, they have just been decided. What kind of country, what kind of society are we are that will spend half a year, 6 months to deal with just simple matters?
So relatively unknown parties will be winning elections.
Court of Appeal is under 60 days, then Supreme Court under 60 days. Many of these candidates will never, situation will never be known before that.
So relatively unknown parties will be winning elections in 2023 as a result of this?
No, not unknown party, because the parties are known. But unknown candidates, who are going to benefit from this thing, nobody will know them.
Okay, now one of the other funny issue, that's really very, very interesting. So people are going to get into office without campaigning. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
And they're going to get into offices without people even
commitment made.
No commitment to them. So consequently, Nigerians can't even hold them to...
We are about to have a problem again, because all the promises being made by presidential candidates, they have something to do with the Constitution. In America, you can see what is going in America.
Okay.
People campaign on legislative issues that look under the Constitution. Look at the exclusive list.
Is there anything in our law that makes it mandatory for legislative candidates for legislature at the federal or state levels to campaign?
Sure. You've got to campaign. What are you going for?
But
look,
I don't remember, since 1999.
That is why we are not making the kind of progress we should make. I just referred to you go to Ghana, go to other countries, go to America. You campaign on issues.
But there are somebody
who say that, look, I am
going
going to National Assembly.
Yes.
The exclusive list we are going to make sure that we take more responsibility to the state, so that the state become center of activity.
We know some of them are doing that right now. We've heard a few people, you know, campaigning.
That is those that don't have issue, but how many are they?
And those that know what they want to go to the legislature to do. But another funny issue, and I think Bukola made a veiled reference to it, is that of the voters, and you have spoken about that also. There are concerns already being raised. You are definitely aware of it. Yes. The INEC voter register is out on the website, and issues around underage voting is arising. And of course, INEC has come out to say we need help to clean up the voter registers and all of that. First of all, how should Nigerians take that? In the first place, did it even happen that INEC registered, because we don't care who it is INEC that registered the people underage. You made a comment the other time that there was an INEC official that was complicit in the case, right, that you mentioned earlier, and that fellow ought to be sacked and prosecuted and all of that. Do you see such collision? Because the same allegation has been made by Akwa Rafsanjani, the chairman of TMG, saying that it means that if that kind of thing has happened, it means that there are some officials of INEC that registered underage voters.
Anyone who undermines the confidence of public institutions must be brought to book. We did that in Akwa Ibom State, where staff of ICT, and just 2 months ago, the Industrial Court affirmed our decision. We proceeded against that. We are using his position in the ICT to be doing registration unknown to the electoral officers. The beauty of INEC process and procedure is that they are open to meaningful engagement and discussion. Time there was where we could say these were the handiwork of youth corpers or some people that were engaged. The current process of registration are all carried out by staff of INEC. And you could see that the chairman, the commission a few weeks ago, said 23. They are going to proceed against them. Now that it has been displayed, and I was very happy that, in fact, this issue, you already trashed it. I listened to Mark when he listed all the responsibility of Nigerians, because it's a collective effort. So you see, if INEC was hiding, they will not make it public. If I did the first time in our history that you are having the register put on the website for everyone. And so that is a commendable effort. But those who have done this are staff of INEC. I can tell you, if you register as a registration officer, you register with your personal ID. All of them can be traced. With respect to underage, that speaks to the collapse of values in our society. I cannot, as a father, allow my daughter or son who is not of age under Section 12, which says 18 years and above, to be registered. It's about collapse of value system now, collapse of the family value. You see, election, a country must have a national character. We do not have a national character. There's nothing that we can say about ourselves that outside the world, they will say, this is something about Nigeria. If I just look at, how we define ourselves, America talks about the dream, that everybody, their land is a land of dream, and that connects with citizen obligation. France talks about the national work, the work of the republic. What is the national definition of our own national meat? Our own is a sharing of cake.
No,
sharing cake.
The national anthem.
That is our own. No. We are not talking about national anthem. We talk about national meats. There's something around the country. America has its own national anthem. France has its own national anthem. I'm not going national meat. They said there is a land of dream. So that connects with citizens that they can dream. France, natural work of the republic. Nigeria, sharing cake. So you create local government based on national sharing. You create state based on national sharing. It's a disaster. So the point here, to go back to, I use that as an illustration to tell you that even when you have not worked, because cake is the last course of a meal. Are you getting it? You have not even worked. You are already defining yourself along that. You see, it shows that we are disciples of Epicuru.
Will INEC bring those staff to book, those staff who registered on the
You heard from the
voters.
commission. You heard from the commission. I'm no longer in INEC, but you heard from the commission. That is what should happen. All those. You see, this is the beauty. That's why I said INEC process is now accountable. All of those people will be dealt with. But what is more important is that Nigerians use this opportunity to check names of those who ought not to be. Because this exercise, by virtue of section 19, we started on Saturday, on the 12th, where at the level of the 8,809 ward will terminate on the 18th. Then, after which is this Friday, tomorrow, it's going to end tomorrow. Then, as from 19th to 25th, they will now proceed to the local government, 774 local government. These are two opportunities at different stages for Nigerians to go and check so that you don't complain. We should stop complaining, because as it is today, let me tell you that all those things you are talking about, apart from the issue about the underage, because they are human beings. You see, we as a country, we be cheating. I will not be cheating in the international tournament. Well, we carry old men and we say they are under 70 and all that. So maybe we need to provide what you call an MRR machine to test the bone at the level of registration. That's what we are going to do now. But that is a shame to the families. It's a shame to the parents who could allow their small children to be registered. So what we did as a panacea in 2015 under Jega leadership was that the IGP, we had meeting at the access, and the Nigerian police made a declaration that all those who have their kids registered on INEC, on election day, there will be Black Maria everywhere. They will harvest all of them. That's what was done. That is what we need to do to deal with that situation, you know, as regards to the register. But I can say that the INEC register remains one of the most comprehensive, the most respected document, because irrespective of whatever that, most of them will not.
Let's hope that INEC can walk the talk in terms of prosecuting staff responsible for.
Well, that is for them to do. But we have demonstrated that.
Speaking of
clearly.
citizens' responsibility, speak to this. Investigations have been uncovered about a plot to not allow Nigerians view the results on the portal in the 2023 elections, and you know, there's items have been slotted in covertly into the Electoral Act to support this. Can this be possible? Can it be pulled off?
No, nothing had been slotted into the Electoral Act. Rather, the Electoral Act had made it very clear. Section 60, subsection 4 and 5 at the level of the polling unit. Then section 64, subsection 4 at the level of the ward and all that. But the issue you are talking about, it is INEC that we make that clarification. Don't forget that what I'm doing is not to speak on current development as related to decisions, if any. What I'm doing is to educate Nigerians, the ABC, that the power has been returned to you. And that was why the tracking system, which I forwarded to you, is to show to Nigerians that INEC has what we call domicile in Abuja, the Election Management Support Center, that gives the commission from Abuja 360-degree visibility of the implementation of the election project plan. And it has three important components. One, the EMS, the election management system. Two, it has what we call the ERM, election risk management, that tracks and monitors potential threat and set triggers. And more importantly, is the election operations support center, which I've sent a clip to you, showing clearly that as a commissioner, I was even being monitored and tracked from the headquarters. And as a rec in charge, you could see, that's what you see there. Now, the last state I worked in, the entire 774 local government of Nigeria, in each state, whether 25 state, 18 state, 30 state, 44 state, 20 state, in Akwa about 31 state, from the Central Bank down to this, to the rack center, down to the polling unit, you could see that's the team. There's a 20 from Abuja. We will have each person coming from Abuja in the 36 state. So they will come. We have a team in each state. That was my conference room. You see equipment there, laptops. All right. You have the entire polling unit of the state. So every 30 minutes, 25 minutes, interval 1 hour, using the tool of the ERM, and of course the EOSC team that you could see there. We track everything. That was why when a notable politician was harvesting ad hoc staff, it was, hijacking them around 12 midnight. I didn't have to go anywhere. I got his number and I called him. What are you doing? That was why he told people that I was using magic. We were never using magic. That was what was deployed. So the idea here is to let people know that if you think you want to rig the 2023 election, you are wasting your time. Remember,
just a second, Mr. Igini. The question Bukola asks is around viewing the results.
Yeah, I said that's a new development.
Yes.
And that I will not speak to that. It is the commission. I am no longer, please, let me be very clear. I'm no longer the commissioner in INEC. I am telling you that the Electoral Act were part of putting in place in terms of proposal, process and procedure that are known to me before I left are the issue that I need to acquaint Nigerians that power is back to you. The issue you've just raised, it is the commission that will make that clarification. I cannot speak on that.
Mr. Igini, the story is that RATEX have been compromised to execute this approach to prevent Nigerians from viewing results on the IRF portal.
I think the language should be...
Is it a possibility?
No, he said can
RATEX be compromised without the leadership of INEC?
No. You see, you say INEC will be... RATEX will be compromised because I don't think they have even recruited them right now. There's fear that they may be compromised and all that. It is the responsibility. You see, the beauty, Bukola, of the system we have here. I told you that there are some provisions I will never mention.
Yes.
I will never mention them. There's nothing anybody can say. Because you will lose. Evidence of wrongdoing will be so overwhelming. You can't benefit from it, and then we have to repeat it again. So, any new issue that was not part of what I knew that is currently in issue, it is the commission to answer that.
And I think the commission has answered it when the chairman of INEC said BVAS and IREV are not compromisable for this election. Let's just hope, as Bukola has said, that INEC walks that talk. There's so much to talk about, Mr. Igini, but we are completely out of time now. We have to thank you very much, and we know that we're going to have you back.
Yes, the only thing I just want to say, Ayo, is that all Nigeria, my closing remarks, is that 2023 is a collective effort. Whatever you do as anchor in Channels Television, as staff of INEC, as security that must maintain absolute neutrality, as voters and as politicians, will be recorded in history. And so shall we all be remembered of the role we played for the success or failure of the 2023 election. Because there's a high court of history that will sit in judgment over us as to the role we play, whether we're dedicated, we're loyal to the service of our country.
Okay. Well, we have to thank you again for being here. Mike Igini is a former resident electoral commissioner of INEC in Akwa Ibom State. Thank you so much again for being here today. We're back after now, still staying on that 600 cases Bukola mentioned earlier, right after now.